The console wars are officially over, and I have to admit that I didn't really expect this bloodbath to go so badly for everybody. Like, in the conversation of PlayStation versus Xbox, historically, a lot of times we talk about the raw digits, who's selling the most games, the controllers, the consoles, and in that way, Sony is way, way, way out in the front. Like, they have over 80 million PlayStation 5s, whereas when it comes to Xbox, they're not even reporting on their numbers, but the rough estimates is that they've sold about 30 million Xboxes. So when it comes to just those raw numbers, it's a blowout. But I have to say that the weird part of this is that in a lot of ways, Sony has never gotten so dang lazy. They're more profitable than they've ever been. They're bigger than they've ever been. They're straight up just posting financial reports that they consider themselves the king of gaming. But in a lot of ways, both Sony and Xbox have kind of been destroyed by this console war in a way that I just really am still feel like the dust is still settling. Historically, I'm the kind of guy where obviously I've been gaming since the Atari 2600. And historically, console wars were about the exclusives. Like, even in books about it, the whole thing was originally, hey, here's Mario versus Sonic, or even, stuff like the PlayStation 1. Here's these early 3D graphics. Here's full cutscenes for Final Fantasy VII. That's the stuff that sold systems. That's the stuff that sold hype. That's the stuff that made you actually want to pick up the controller of your choice. Whereas now, we're in this strange spot where PlayStation is starting to put their games on Xbox. They've released financial reports saying essentially they're excited to put more games on Xbox, whereas Microsoft, first-party stuff, has gone completely third-party. The only copies of Xbox games that are selling at this point are selling on PlayStation. That's not even a joke. We're going to take a look at the numbers, but I really want to break this all down because a lot of people, now that the console wars are over, it seems like a lot of the fans are just basically saying, okay, are we better or worse? Has the lack of competition, the lack of fight from Xbox made PlayStation lazier than they've ever been? Because, just consider this. I like my PlayStation. I game on PS5 a lot, but at this point, what are the crazy exclusives that make me extremely excited to have bought a PS5 day one, right? I mean, Returnal was great, Spider-Man 2 was great, God of War Ragnarok, Astrobot, there are good games, but the fact that I can list them on one hand, I think it's a significant sign about the generation from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. Even if PS5 won, even if Xbox is dead, I do think we've kind of lost something. And I want to break that down. Let's get into it. Hi, I am DreamcastGuy, and if you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, this is part of what sort of stirred this up. I saw a lot of people screaming about this tweet last night, which is from Destin Legary, where he said, packet of console wars, it's time to retire. Now, undeniably, as a person now that's been covering video games pretty much every day for the last 10 years on this YouTube channel, it is wild to see an official thing. This is PlayStation.com. This isn't photoshopped. It's an actual screenshot of PlayStation.com that says, hey, do you want to buy a PlayStation game? Because Helldivers 2 is funded partially by Sony. This is a PlayStation project. Buy it on Xbox. A link to take you from PlayStation.com to Xbox.com. That's a wild thing to see. Now, in the comments, everybody is basically being like, yeah, man, Xbox has been dead for a long time. The remaining Xbox fanboys enjoy the games as a service games. Yeah, 80 million versus 30 million. Yes, it's over. So a lot of people are like, yet here you are still console warring. The console war has been over since 4/16/2024, my boy. A lot of people are basically saying, look, man, ever since basically Xbox started putting every single game on PlayStation, the console wars have been over. This is the kind of stuff that's super, super, super bizarre. This is an actual tweet from Ninja Theory, a major, expensive Xbox studio, and they're saying, hey, the best place to play our games is on a PS5 Pro. This is bizarre to see. I have to admit that it's still just weird. An Xbox studio promoting to buy a game on PlayStation is kind of the same. It looks the exact same on the base PS5 and PS5 Pro. Stop it. Oh, man. It's just, to me, I think we've hit this point where a lot of people are saying, okay, Xbox is out of the race. Yes, the best place to play Xbox games, other than PC, obviously PC will always be king, is on a PS5 Pro. How weird is that? But this is the thing, is that I do believe that while Xbox has been in the corner, just full force punching themselves in the dick for years now. In a lot of ways, it feels like PlayStation has picked up the stupidest lesson from all this console war business, which is all that matters is playtime hours. Like, historically, what made Sony so great? What made PlayStation sell so many things, right? It was probably single-player, focused stories. Characters you care about, worlds you care about, things where it's not just, hey, this game is good. It's, hey, I want to buy into that ecosystem to see what comes next. I care about Nathan Drake. I want to see the next Uncharted. I care about Kratos. I want to see the next God of War. Or even there's talks about a spin-off of God of War Ragnarok where we play as Loki. I care about that. But to Sony and to a lot of these companies, admittedly, they have this weird idea that what matters isn't fun. It's not award-winning games and stuff like that. It's about play hours. So many companies think it's not if you're having fun, it's if you're spending time online. So they've been really heavily pushing billions and billions of dollars into this live service slop, a lot of which still hasn't even come out yet. Like, consider the fact that Fair Games, they bought this studio that had never released a game. And remember, they did that same thing with Fire Sprite. That's what came out with Concord and then immediately shut them down. They bought this studio called Haven, making this like looter shooter co-op bank heist game. Haven Studios, Fair Games. We still haven't even seen this. They showed this and we still haven't even seen this. Look at all the comments. Great. Another Concord 2. Not going to lie. Everybody now is at a point where I saw this tweet literally right before I started filming it. The biggest mistake Sony ever made recently was getting rid of Andrew House and then getting rid of Shawn Layden. PlayStation started doing this stupid stuff when Jim Ryan took over, says securities analyst Michael Pachter. Now, Michael Pachter has been talking a lot about this stuff specifically because it does seem like Michael Pachter realizes after studying PlayStation for so many years that it does feel like they've figured out what works and then just consciously chose not to do it. Like, PlayStation made the best exclusives and then said, okay, what if we stopped caring about that passion, that polish, that unique Japanese fingerprints to a lot of their stories that were so good? What if we just gave all that up to basically make slop? And a lot of people were just immediately saying, this is so dumb. This is one of the biggest PlayStation fans on the planet. Pio literally ate a PlayStation box. This guy is obsessed with PlayStation. Putting all their eggs in the games as a service basket with single player studios is something so stupid it needs to be studied. And he actually brings up a good point. They've been having their single player studios not just, all right, we're going to work on live service over here. You guys start making games as a service instead of your single player games. Why the heck was Naughty Dog wasting years and years and years on a Last of Us MMO that never came out? Stuff like that is not just expensive. It seems so bafflingly stupid. But you know what? We know why they're doing this. And it's the fact that PlayStation has gotten lazy in a way that I honestly did not expect, which is this. I saw this tweet and I honestly love it. Even though it has 6 likes, I actually think this is brilliant. There is a symbiotic relationship that exists between the PlayStation ecosystem and third-party developers and publishers. Take, for example, Mafia: The Old Country. Half of their sales were on the PS5. Now, we've seen this with a lot of games now. Games where they release something, it sells moderately well. In this case, we have 2 separate games now that sold about 1 million copies, 800,000 copies sold of Mafia. 48% of them are people that bought it on PlayStation. That is wild. Look at this. PlayStation is this chunk of the pie. Steam is this chunk of the pie. Xbox is this chunk of the pie. I've been saying multiple times now that Xbox gamers don't buy games. And when I say that, people get pissed at me. And like, sometimes people don't understand. Data is this very separate thing. There's anecdote and there's data. And I think sometimes people conflate it. Oh, you're saying nobody buys Xbox games, but I bought it on Xbox. Okay. You got to understand that's not what the data is though, right? Like at one point I was very obsessed with a kid with this game called Phantom Dust. Me and all my friends bought Phantom Dust. It's like a card game, super, super fun. All of my friends were playing Phantom Dust. We loved Phantom Dust. We made Phantom Dust memes because the story is super silly. To us, we thought that Phantom Dust was the biggest game in the world, but that's not the data. Phantom Dust bombed. There's a reason we never got Phantom Dust 2, 3, right? sometimes people forget outside their bubble, things are different. And the raw numbers of the fact that at this point, PlayStation, even if they're releasing games, they don't have to. PlayStation has realized Xbox will make games that sell like crazy. A lot of this stuff, Doom is only selling actual copies on PlayStation. It's got a lot of people playing it on Game Pass, which is still super wild. But I still feel like we're in this weird spot where symbiotic is such a great way of putting this. We're in this weird spot now that is super interesting because right now, games are selling best on PlayStation. So they're optimized most on PlayStation. So people are putting out specifically PS5 Pro patches so they're ready to look great on the PlayStation 6 when that comes out in a couple of years. So because of it, now people are buying games only on PlayStation. It becomes this weird cycle where people are not only treating the PlayStation like the default system, but even developers now seem to just be dead set on, hey, we have to push the PlayStation hardest. That's where the money's at. That's where the players are at. That's where the engagement is at. That's where our money exists, which means more free infinite cash for Sony. Sony has just gotten to this weird spot where they don't have to try. And it feels really crappy. When I was growing up, part of the fun of the console war was the fact that everybody was trying their hardest. Every company was trying to make the best games, the coolest stuff, the funniest marketing, the craziest business deals and stuff because they wanted the absolute best games possible. Whereas now, we've almost hit this opposite where companies are so obsessed with these profit margins and stuff that now it's not about making the best games or having the coolest stories or having the biggest, most passionate fan base. It's like, okay, how can we get you locked into an ecosystem? And now Sony's realized pretty much the entire console business is already deadlocked into their ecosystem. So they don't have to try. They don't have to make games. They don't have to put stuff out. They don't have to tell you cool stories. They can just sit back and let that money roll in. And I got to admit, it's not just lazy, it's boring. I miss PlayStation games being made by PlayStation. I'm still happy to have my PS5. I'm still going to be buying games on my PS5 because I do think it's the best place to play. But I do miss when PlayStation sat up and fucking tried. What are your thoughts, though? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. This is a nice little Sunday rant. I was talking about this because last night, me and my girlfriend were hanging out all day yesterday talking about consoles and games and playing stuff, watching movies. And we binged the new King of the Hill season. God, it's good. But she was at one point talking about why it is that will there even be a PlayStation 6? She was basically just talking about the fact that it's interesting that graphics keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. She was basically like, why is Xbox even going to make a next Xbox if the current Xbox isn't selling? And I was like, yeah, babe, I don't know. Ask Microsoft. I don't know. I'm rambling. Love you guys very much. Have a great day. And please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.